Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to make over some items and we're going to start with this piece of furniture here. I think maybe this is a washstand. It's very old, but I don't like this finish on it and I don't really like those handles either. So I took all the handles off and I'm going to give this, after I gave it a good cleaning, I'm going to give this 2 coats of the color Farmhouse Green. Now I went ahead and painted down the sides because there's a lot of staining on this, and also I'm going to be doing a scripture stamp on this, and I want it to show up good. I like to put a scripture stamp when my furniture piece has a drawer. I like to stamp something scriptural on the sides just as kind of a nice surprise when they open it. So I'll be painting the outside of the drawers, and then the inside I'm going to paint in the color Collard Green, and that's almost a dark gray, but you can see that it has a hint of green in it, and that's what I decided to paint on the insides. And the reason for that is because there was some very bad staining inside these drawers. I know I could have clear coated it, but it would just take so much. I think at least a couple of coats to keep that from coming through. So it was just easier to paint it a dark color. And now I have this transfer from Dixie Belle. It's not really my style. The name of it is Flower Child. But I thought it would go well with this color. So I kind of wanted to do this one in kind of a cottage retro look, if that makes sense. So I'm going to use this transfer just on different parts of this. I'm not going to make you watch me do all that. But I'll just put a part in the center of this long drawer on the top, and then I'll just kind of randomly add other parts to this transfer on the other drawers, and even a little on the top. Now, because I didn't like the handles, I bought these black ones at Lowe's, and I just didn't have time to go to Hobby Lobby, but I don't want this black. I want these to look more old and retro, so I'm taking some bronze and some gold gilding wax and just kind of rubbing that on with my finger, but still letting some of that black come through. So then this gave it more of an aged bronze. And the next item that we're going to be working with is this mirror that I thrifted, and it came this color, which is a little too bright for me. It's close to what I painted that washstand, but it's a little too bright. So I wanted to kind of take advantage of this green, and so what I decided to do in this vignette is to do the tea rose and that green and just kind of make them go together. So I'm giving this 2 coats of the color tea rose, and then once it dries, I'll take a damp cloth and just do some wet distressing on it, and it'll bring some of that green out. And then I'll dull that by adding some antiquing wax and some of the green liquid gel stain. So I'm just going to kind of play with this and see what finish I can come up with. And I was actually happy with the color the finish that it had. But you'll see I just kind of played and just added a little until I got the look that I wanted. Now, a good tip when you can't get your distressing to come through the way you want it to, maybe you've let it dry too long, then you can just kind of mist some water on it and let it sit for just a short time, and it will soften that paint up so that you can rub it off. That's just something I recently discovered when I was having such a hard time getting the distress on it, and I didn't want to use sandpaper because the item that I was working on was a metal item, and I didn't want to get down to that raw metal. So I tried misting it, and that really worked out well. And in this case, it helped me clean up my mirror because I don't take my mirrors off generally. I just usually take a razor blade and scrape them off. But when you can also just take a damp cloth and wipe that off, and it comes off the mirror really easily. So when I missed it, it came off even more easily. And now I'm going to make over this stool that I thrifted. I think that was some sort of decoupage on top. But I'm just going to go right over the top of that with the color Tea Rose. And I give this stool 2 coats of the color Tea Rose. Now I did decide to go back over the top of this because I'm going to be doing some decoupage over the top of this. So once I got it completely painted and it dried, I went over the top with some buttercream, with 1 coat of the color buttercream. And these are all Dixie Belle colors that I'm using. And I went back over it with buttercream because anytime that you're going to be decoupaging, it's best if you start with some sort of white underneath. Then your design will show up a lot better, especially if you're using a napkin. And that's what I'm going to be decoupaging with on this. So I'm going to use a napkin that I got at Hobby Lobby and decoupaged on the top of this. And then once I got this decoupaged on and it dried well, then I just took some sandpaper and sanded around the edges, and that will clean those edges up and give it a lot neater finish. And now I'm working on this transfer set that I've just used on so many projects. And as I've said in some of my other videos, these are a little stiffer than usual and they're shiny. But some viewers told me how to take care of that shiny, and so what I did was just transfer these on, and I'm just kind of randomly placing them on the legs. And then I'm just going to seal this whole stool in a flat clear coat, and that takes the shine right off these. It worked out wonderful, and so now I'm able to use these on projects that I wouldn't normally use them on. And I'm going to include these in the description because like I said, I've gotten a lot of projects out of them, and they're not very expensive at all. And now this is a little bucket that I thrifted, and I'm going to give this 2 coats of the color Sea Glass. So I'm doing several colors in this one, and I know that's not like me at all. I was just kind of in a colorful mood, and I think I can make all these work together in one vignette. So I'll give this 2 coats of the color Sea Glass, and then I'll put that stamp on it, and then finish this off with some Van Dyke Brown glaze, and that's a Dixie Belle glaze. And the reason I want to do that is because this is a little too cool of a color to go in this particular vignette, and so that glaze will warm it up a little bit. Also, with this color, when you add a glaze to it, it almost gives it a little bit more of a greenish hue also. So I like to use it on this color because I just really like the color that you get from that. And then I thrifted this little candle holder, and I'm going to give this 2 coats of that sea glass and let it dry well. And then I'm going to do some wet distress on this and bring some of that off-white through because I just like the look of that. And then once that dries, then I'm going to go over this with some of the brown glaze also. And that's all that I'll be doing to this one. And actually, as I'm painting this, I'm purposely letting some of that white show through. And then I can also remove some by wet distressing it when I'm finished. And then for the last item, my sister found this little bunny at a yard sale, I think, and she brought it for me to make over. And I'm just going to kind of start from scratch on it. I'm going to take all this stuff off and start over because I want it to have more of a simple look. And I want it to be kind of a primitive shabby. So I just didn't feel like what she was wearing would go with that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.